Alright, so we're going to walk you through the process of setting up your file for Project One. And if you have scanned your own image, or if you're relying on an image that perhaps was provided to you by somebody else, the first step is just to understand how to either crop or select out your image so that we can actually get it into a new file. So in some cases, whether it's on your part or somebody else's, you actually may have too much canvas here, and I've already got my crop tool activated. By default, it usually is the default tool, but if somebody has used one of these other tools, you may actually have to click on that crop tool and activate it. So by default, it brings open this crop area, and you can basically just drag the different sides so that we crop. Now when you are cropping, you also have the ability to rotate, and you see it starts to activate a bit of a grid. And those grid lines, as we zoom in, you start to see in detail that's helping you line things up so you can straighten your image. We are able to get as close as possible, and I'm just going to leave a little bit of the white edge for now. We just don't need that much white space in this image. And then to activate your crop, if you want to actually select it so that it's actually going to accept it, we're going to just double click or press return, and then it takes that crop. Okay. By default, you may also notice a lot of these options up at the top. You do want to check and make sure that they are turned off. Photoshop has tried to make it a little bit more user-friendly for you to be able to have different ratios or different sizes. And although you can enter in these numbers, if you do not know what the resolution is of your file, you take a huge risk of actually changing the pixel sizes in the wrong way. So usually raster images, you are stuck with the resolution that you've scanned at. So in this case, we have an image that was scanned in at, let's just check out the inches. It was scanned in at 1200 dpi and just under 2 inches for each size. So they're pretty small photos. And I don't know how much they were manipulated before they were sent to me, because I did not actually scan these. But we do want to verify and see if this image is going to be adequate for a project use for your project. So when you're working on projects for different designs, or whether it's for a personal project, you do want to be able to know what that final output size is. We're going to create a new file, and we're going to actually set up this file so that it is the output that I desire, which is what we're going to use for Project One. So we're going to create a file that is going to be 8 by 10. You can choose portrait or landscape. There's absolutely no reason to use artboards in Photoshop right now. They have their purpose, but they work better in Illustrator. And then the resolution right here, we're actually going to go ahead and choose 300 dpi. And then we do want to make sure that the color mode is set to RGB. If you do not have it set to RGB, when you start to edit, you may not have all the features that you're going for and trying to use. And then all of these other features, usually you can leave them default, so I'm not going to get into the explanation of all of them at this point. And then we're going to go ahead and say create. And it's just a blank file right now. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take our move tool here, and this is a little tricky the first time you try to copy it over. There's more than one way of doing this. So I'll show you both methods, and you can choose which one you like better. So we've got these two different tabs up here. This is the new file I created. This is the photo that was scanned and sent to me. I'm going to use this move file, and I'm just going to take that move tool, and we're going to drag it, and I have not let go of my mouse yet. The moment I hover over the document, I'm going to let go of my mouse, and then it shows up inside of this document. Now, as you can see, that very small photo was a little bit too small to use for a 300 dpi image. In this case, it probably would not work for this project. However, it is still a decent size image that could be retouched, but definitely wouldn't make it to an 8 by 10 image. So that is going to be an important consideration. It is a project requirement to meet those resolution requirements. And we do want to make sure you know one other way that we can do this. So let's go ahead and delete this layer. So we can take this layer here, drag it to the trash can, And tabs in Photoshop are wonderful, but sometimes when you first start using them, they're not very user-friendly and they might get in your way. So you can actually separate this tab so that you see both the image and the document. And sometimes this makes it easier for you to be able to see and just drag over your image just like we did in the last example, but we're able to see the image. Usually that document is behind somewhere back there. So it's like right back there. So I could go and click around, but I did want you to also know you can get to Windows right here and open up that window. And then if you do want it back on the tab, you can put it right there. Okay, so I would encourage you, do not start retouching inside of your original scan file. You do need to have a new document. This is going to make positively certain that this file is the exact size it needs to be when we're going to print it. It's going to make sure it's the best quality possible, and then we'll go through another demonstration of how you can do the same type of concept if you happen to have scanned multiple files.